Just a quick note from me. We'd love you to hit the subscribe button. This helps us more than you might realise when it comes to growing this podcast, ensuring we can bring you the best guests possible. Thank you. Back to the episode. How do you just get started? I suppose thinking of someone like Jessica here that might be like, okay, so you just get started. How can you get started?
My favourite way to get started is by launching what's called a waiting list. And a waiting list is you don't set up a bank account, you don't set up a company, you don't talk to accountants or lawyers or any of that expensive stuff. You just simply launch a waiting list and you say, I'm looking into starting a business in this particular industry, doing this particular thing. We're hoping to solve these 3 problems. If you're interested in that, join the waiting list and I'll send you more information as soon as it's ready. It would be really helpful if you can answer a few questions when you join the waiting list, and I'll come back to you as soon as we've got more information. In my mind, if you can get a couple of hundred people to join the waiting list, then that's a good sign that the business should exist. And then from there, you can talk to a business mentor, you could talk to some investors, you could talk to a co-founder or someone you want to have as a co-founder. So from there, you kind of like have some initial validation for the idea.
Love that.
What skills and qualities do you need to start up your business to be really successful?
To be an entrepreneur, you need to be a little bit of a visionary. So you need to be able to imagine what it's going to look like in the future. You need a particular skill called pitching. So pitching is all about communicating your ideas. Like you're trying to convince people to invest their time, energy, effort, money into this new venture. If they're an investor, you're trying to get them to put some money into it. If they are a amazing, talented potential employee, you're trying to get them to put in their time. So you're just trying to get people to come and join this idea and join this team. If they're a customer, you're trying to get them to become a first customer. So you're pitching. Entrepreneurship is like the journey of 1,000 pitches. You're just out there trying to talk people into getting excited about your idea as much as possible. So that's one of the cornerstone skills of pitching. And then the other one is this skill of trying to get what's in your head into somebody else's head. And a lot of the time we use things like brochures, slide decks, landing pages, just any visual representation that kind of makes the business seem more real. And we're using those visuals to just try and get people to believe that this product is going to exist, that this is going to be good value. A lot of the time we have it so clear in our own mind, but we have to be able to get that out of our head and into something that's visual so that other people can become clear about it as well.
And how did you get into that?
Yeah, it's interesting. It wasn't super straightforward, so it depends what timeline we're talking about.
Let's go all the way back. Go back, I guess, to a similar age when you were at A-levels. I'd love to know that story.
Yeah, so when I was your age, Ashley, a few years ago, I studied at A-level computer science, along with geography, economics and maths. But I knew I wanted to be in some kind of tech role. And around that time, I don't know if they still do this like quiz thing, but there was like a careers quiz that you used to be able to do in school that would kind of tell you, based on the things that you're good at, the subjects that you take and the things that you like, what types of job roles you might be suited to in the future. Yeah, so
that sounds familiar.
What it's called, but yeah, something like that. And I did that, and like one of the answers on my quiz, or one of the results, was you could be in one of the many tech roles that's going to come into existence in the next 5 and 10 years. So it wasn't super defined, let's say, my career path or the things that I knew I was going to be doing. But I kind of focused on tech. I studied computer science into university, and I landed an internship at Amazon after graduating. So I came out of uni with a first class and I was like, this is great. I went to Amazon. I actually lived in Luxembourg for 5 months to do my internship there. But it wasn't solutions architecture. It was a business intelligence engineering role, which was good. And it gave me a great experience and a great exposure to Amazon as a company. But it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So I started to look for other roles that I could go into as a graduate, based on, again, what I'd studied, the things I'd learned so far as a business intelligence engineer. And I came across this random job posting for a program called TechU. And I read the description and it was absolutely perfect. Like, it was like someone had written up the description of my dream job and my dream role. And that's how I got into solutions architecture. So it was kind of by accident. It was just from knowing what I didn't want to do as well as what I did want to do. And finding through kind of networking through my company what kind of roles I could go into at Amazon Web Services, and having the opportunity to do like a graduate program. So that was a great enabler to get into a role that most people at graduate stage don't get into, or don't have the opportunity to show the skills that they need or have the experience that is required to be a solutions architect.
And so the TikTok creator bits that you were doing, was
Yeah.
that just off your own back? Were you getting sponsored for some of that over time? How did that all come about?
So I remember when I first started, like once I graduated and stuff, and I used to see a lot of people get invites for free to like restaurants and stuff. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to get invited to restaurants for free. Like, right, what does it take? And I saw that a lot of people would just like upload reviews on TikTok, videos and stuff. And I was like, right, we're going to start doing this. And yeah, one day, I think it was my first video coming back from Rome with my friend. And I was like, right, I'm going to vlog it and I'm going to post it. I'm going to post where to eat, what to do. And I remember I posted it and I think it got like out the back, I think about 20,000 views. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, this is great. A lot of commentary, like, how did you do this? How did you do that? And I continued little bit by bit until I got to a video where I went to Manchester for 24 hours and it went viral within 3 days to like 2 million.
Wow.
And 2 million views. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't have lots of like good comments because we went to quite expensive places and stuff like that. But even then, I was like, wow, okay, this is what TikTok can do for you. And so same aligning with that was when I was in my HR role and I didn't like it. And then I came across, again, someone else saying, oh, you can do social media as a career. I was like, what? Are you sure? Like, I was like, yeah, you can. So then I started to find internships, which was true. And then I landed, so using that TikTok account as my experience to say, hey, I can make videos, I can grow accounts, like, we can work together sort of thing. So I added that to my CV. And then I got my first internship as a marketing and social media intern for a beauty clinic franchise here in London. And yeah, the rest is history.
I love
That's
that.
amazing. Just sitting here as like a university student, what advice would you want to give out to like the 16 to like 25-year-olds? What is there anything you'd like to tell them?
Specifically uni students or really anyone?
Just from like the people that are looking to go into a career in tech.
Okay. Do it in your spare time. Do it in your spare time. I think if you're and you will do this and it'll be natural if you enjoy something. So I guess first of all, make sure you enjoy it, but then also do it in your spare time because that enables you to get a competitive advantage over everyone else. One, a lot of other people will be doing it in their spare time, but the people that aren't, you'll get a competitive advantage over them. So university is great for providing learning resources and teaching you skills. It's about how you marry up those skills to what you do in your spare time and the things that you enjoy. Say, for example, let's look at business as a subject. A lot of people in business do it because they want to start a business. But what do they want to start a business about? Then you refine your skills in that area that you want to start a business about because you've learned the business skills. But now you need to learn, say, for example, if you wanted to start a bakery, for example, well, you need to learn how to make bread as well. So,
yeah.
So I was listening to the podcast Nudge the other day, which is amazing for like learning about behavioral science and nudges, etc. And they were talking about memory and actually how the less we do, the more that affects our ability to remember. So, and they were talking about the fact that if you work from home a lot, and specifically looking at some of the research that was done around COVID, where we just were stuck indoors and stuck with the same pattern, it actually affects our ability to remember things. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, our memory or our faculties are spatial, and in the images, the markers for our life are the experiences that we're having and the places we're going, and that's what makes the narrative of our life. And it's the images in the back of your mind that are the most important to pay attention to, even though sort of in academia and that unconscious imagery is kind of ignored. They just sort of look at thoughts and feelings and don't pay so much attention to what's really going on in your mind. But London cab drivers have this phenomenon where when they do the knowledge and they learn all the streets in London and they drive around all of them for a couple of years, learning every little shortcut and every road change, their hippocampus grows, it gets bigger. So there's an area of their brain that physically grows to accommodate the knowledge. And they tend to have fantastic memories. And it's because we for anything we remember, we put a marker against it in our mind, and that marker is experiential. It's a place, it's a space, it's a face, it's an image. And if we don't have enough variety of images, we've got nothing to mark things against, which is why, if a song came out during lockdown, you can't remember when during lockdown that song came out or what order things happened in, because it was just so much routine.
Yeah.
So, routine makes days seem long at the time because they're boring, but when you look back, they've gone at lightning speed because there was not enough novelty to make it furnish your mind with experience.
So interesting, isn't it? So I guess actually thinking, because you've probably got some exams coming up, is there anything around like remembering things for exams that might be an interesting tip for our audience?
Yeah, precisely this. So make a memory palace, make a place to remember things in. So first time, so when I lived in America, I used to come home frequently, and because I flew all the time, it's terrible to say now, it's like flight shaming because, environmentally, I'm sure it's terrible, but I was on an airplane every 2-3 days for 2 years, and I would fly to all over the US to stitch together deals, that I was working on. And, but then every sort of 3 months or whatever, 3 to 6 months, I'd jump on a plane and come back to the UK, and I'd arrive at the airport and I'd give them a ticket and they would say, passport? And I would look at them blankly and then go, and have to run out to my car and drive home and get my passport, because I was so used to flying without a passport that I didn't associate going to the airport with needing a passport anymore. And my friend Dave at the time said to me, okay, sit down and get the image that you think of when you think of aeroplanes in the airport. And I went there and sat down, and an image came to my mind, which was an image looking out over Gatwick Airport. And he said, right, now replace the tailplane, the fin at the back of every airplane with your passport. And I made this picture in my mind of every plane having my passport as the sort of fin at the back of the plane, the tailplane. And I never forgot my passport again, because I had a visual experience that was a memory cue, rather than trying to remember it in words and think it, which is, a really bad strategy. So when you want to remember things, make them novel and make them visual. And if you've got a lot of things to remember or a sequence of things to remember, build yourself a memory palace. And the easiest way to do that is walk yourself through your daily routine. I wake up, I turn to my phone or whatever, and I look at my phone. Then I get up and I have a drink of water and I go to the bathroom, and then I interact with the bathroom, whatever, brush my teeth, whatever it is I do. I get downstairs, I get a bowl from the cupboard. So find all of those things that you do as part of that daily routine, and then take the things you need to remember and pop them into all of those experiences. So when I wake up, I look at my phone, and on my phone I see whatever the first thing you need to remember is. Then I sit up and I pick up the glass and to have my drink, and I notice in the glass is the second thing that you need to remember. Then I get up and I go to the bathroom, and etc. So you take your lived experience, things that you know really, really well, your natural unconscious imagery, which is different to thinking of pictures, like use the pictures that are already there, that are embedded, and then add novel visual qualities to them, and you will never forget.
What are your thoughts on, and I know you talked about this a little bit today, going to work for a massive company like a Unilever or someone like that versus all the small businesses that exist?
I really encourage young people to work for small firms, 5 to 15 people, because you're going to get access to the founder or the leader. You're going to get access to the whole picture of what that business does. If you go and work for a large corporate, there's a high chance they're going to shove you in a corner and give you some like tiny little minuscule job. And they'll say, all right, for the first week, you're going to lick these stamps and put these things in the mailbox. And it's like, okay, you're going to cut and paste this from this. And it's like, oh, okay, that's great. But you have no idea how they win customers. You have no idea how they look after their customers. You have no idea how much money they're making or what their profit margins look like. strangely, if you work in a small business, they tell you all that stuff. They'll sit there and go, oh yeah, we did, 200 grand worth of revenue this month. And you're like, oh, okay, is that good or bad? And they'll just go out to coffee with you and tell you all about it. So often it's the case if you're working for a small, dynamic little company, you want to find like a little company that's ambitious and growing, winning awards, that sort of stuff. But there's 5 to 15 people, or maybe even less, maybe 3 or 4 people. But you're now part of an actual team. You can see the whole thing, and that's really exciting if you can get that.
I think it's just like most 11-year-olds wouldn't ask someone to be their mentor.
I didn't. And that's it. Now you put a label on it as mentorship. And I say as well to early professionals to professionals who want to mentor the next generation, I say, don't think of it as this thing that you have to take on to the grave. It can literally be a career conversation. It could be listening to a podcast. It could be watching a webinar. People don't realize the impact that has on young people. And that's why now, I think I have that drive, is because I realized that if I had what I'm now doing, if I had someone like me to look up to, I know how much easier it would be, and for it to be relatable as well. I'll never change who I am to fit what I think a woman in tech or a tech professional looks like. And that's why I've just stuck with that, because and that's what mentorship taught me, because I was able to really see myself from early on.
Yeah, it's incredible though. And but that's the thing as well. And I suppose we talk about this a lot on the podcast and the events that we run, that actually if you don't ask, you don't get.
So true.
And you don't always need to call it mentorship. It could just be, can I just have 10 minutes of your time? I love what you said today. I just want to understand how might I say that kind of thing one day, or how might I get into this position? This podcast in itself, I'm hoping lots of people get to hear your story through this, because it is just that you can just push and make things happen. As you say, there was nothing prior to, well, in any of this, you're just an ordinary person that just went, I'm going to go and make these things happen.
I didn't know what mentorship was.
Yeah.
None of these things, as you say, I've got a proud northern mum, and I'm proud to be I'm British Lebanese, and I'm proud that I've had that moral of that grit and resilience. And if you don't ask, you don't get, because people squeak a bit or that's a bit cringe. I'm not going to do that. But I even say to my students, when they attend a webinar or when they listen to a podcast, don't just ping a LinkedIn connection across, but personalize it. Quote back to them something that they said that really resonated with you, because a lot of people get a lot of requests, but it doesn't take much to stand out the tiniest bit. The bar is so low to actually stand out in that way. And it might seem like a really bold thing to do at the time, even starting to build a personal brand, posting on LinkedIn, sharing your learning. I say to learners who within our community, when you get your digital credential, don't just say the generic view my verified credential, but rather explain to us what did the badge teach you, what was your learning journey, what more questions do you have, because that's how you connect to the industry pathways and the opportunities and unlock things like mentorship. Without that, you'd have your badge. That's one step ahead, but you could be 10 steps ahead with the small list of actions.
So you mentioned a placement year, and obviously it didn't work out with Amazon. Did you end up doing that somewhere else?
Yes, I did do a placement year, and I'm so glad that I did. A lot of people feel that doing a placement year is just going to take a year away from the time that they have at university, or it's just going to delay the time that it takes to graduate. But it was such good exposure to the tech industry, to the corporate world, to professional life. It was also a really good opportunity for me to learn kind of the skills that people don't speak to you about as much, I think, at university or prior, when you're studying at school. So just things like your self-awareness, knowledge of your working styles, how you interact with other people, how you deal with challenges.
There's so many trends that happen. It means there's numerous a day that just pop up on TikTok and they go viral overnight. And looking at your platform, you're very current, up to date with all the trends. I just wonder, how do you manage to, so obviously you pick the ones that sort of align well with your brand, but how do you manage to think of the content overnight almost of this trending content? How can you quickly action that?
I will show you my screen time when we're done, and that's the secret. It's about 10 hours. One, it's my whole job to scout the internet and report on trends, so I'm really lucky that I have more time than most. As you said, it's very much about what matters to my brand and my audience. So for me, I'm looking at like internet trends, shifts in consumer behavior, and that's what I will speak about. All of my content is about 2 weeks from real time. So on Monday, I wrote my content for next week and the week after. So you've got an organization system that allows you to plan in advance. You're not waking up like, oh, what am I going to post today? But you've got like a 2-week window in that if I spoke about it in 2 weeks, it's still relevant. I almost like being a little bit late. I don't know if you have seen Astronomer hired Gwyneth Paltrow to do a bit of like damage control. They did like a PR video that came out, I think, last week from time of recording and speaking. My LinkedIn feed, my Instagram feed, my TikToks, I follow a lot of marketers, has been flooded with that for the past week and a half. In 2 weeks, no one's going to be talking about it. So how can you reflect on what everyone said and bring something different or amplify a main thought? So I almost wonder, like, how can we track what's happening now to speak about after? I think that has so much more impact. Is what I do quite frequently on the PLM, like business pages as well. There are some really amazing tools for keeping up with trends, whether that be kind of like social media trends by way of audios and like trends to jump on, or user behavior trends. One, I do have a free weekly newsletter that I think you would love.
Yeah,
linked to my
definitely.
website. There are also ones like In Case You Missed It by a woman called Leah Haberman, who's amazing. She rounds up all of the latest trends and news. If you don't use Substack, it's like a newsletter long form app, or you can get them sent to your inbox as well. Something great about Substack is if you follow, for me, I follow a lot of like marketing people who will report on like really cool trends. Once you follow one, it will recommend more like that person, unlike typical newsletters. So Substack will be a really good one. On Instagram and TikTok, so Instagram, if you have a business or creator account, if you go on your profile, professional dashboard, scroll down, it will give you trending audios. And it will like list everything that's trending. Likewise on TikTok, if you go to search and type in TikTok creator insights, it does a few things. One, it gives you all the stats on what is trending, but there's also one tab that's called Content Gap. So it shows you what everyone's posting in your space, what people are searching, and the searches that are missing. So I don't know how to style blue jeans with a pink shirt, but everyone's talking about how to style it with a blue shirt. So it literally recommends what people are looking for. But the best way to know what people are talking about is just be in this space. So whether that's LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, or Reddit is a newfound favorite of mine. So Facebook groups, be in this space that you want to be known in. What are people up to? But yeah, hopefully some tools and resources there. I think Substack will probably be the best one, and invest time in reading about what interests you. You know, if there are trends that you don't care about, that's cool. You don't need to know or follow all of them. So there's a lot out there.
Well, you're also very active on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
that's how
we found each other.
That's how
we found each other. Yes.
So yeah, LinkedIn is always a good place. That's a good. It's obviously a very wide community, but there are small little groups that pop up on there as well. So you're on LinkedIn now, Ashley?
Yeah.
Are you? Yes.
I've just need to like get it all sorted and like, because it's a bit confusing. I don't really understand how to use it.
I can imagine. No, and the thing is that I don't blame you. I didn't take LinkedIn seriously until probably about 2 years ago. Like it's not somewhere where you think, yes, LinkedIn. And I was told at school, yeah, you need to do your LinkedIn profile for your businesses. I was like, yeah, whatever. I was young. I didn't really care. I didn't care about my career at the time as much as I should have. But I think the best advice is, start from now. Get a grip of what the platform is, because it's changing in front of our eyes right now.
Yeah. And just finding those connections and just remembering, and we've talked about this before, but it's another great example of the fact that you could just reach out to somebody, and that's helped you skip the queue a little bit there to get into that interview opportunity. And it's worth doing, but it's trying to find out, how do you stand out, and how do you, and was that just a standard message you sent, or did you try video or anything like that?
No, so I think at the time, I think it was just mainly an email. I was saying, hi, I saw your post on the Facebook community group. I'm also here's my CV. I've got X amount of like experience, and yeah, I just sent it. I think it's a little bit more genuine when you know, like, oh yeah, you're not, you know that it's not massively sending it to other people. So just make that very personalized, or like, hi, I saw you here. You would love to see if we can have a chat. Here's my CV, and see where the conversation goes. I think a lot of people really try a bit too much in their emails. Sometimes just add a little bit of a personal touch, you know? That's what you being you is going to help you stand out anywhere.
The other environment that's useful is opulent environment. So believe it or not, the most beautiful 5-star hotels, if you just show up looking like you're meant to be there, you can go and sit in the foyer, you can order a coffee, right? You can hang out in a super 5-star hotel any day of the week. You just go and sit and quietly have a coffee, take your journal, make some notes. It's really, really good to get into a different environment, like a 5-star fancy environment. You know, you can totally do that. And it does lift the vibe.
Because I suppose you've got what you can do, but also you need Oxford and Cambridge, and then after that, other universities to want to listen and to want to welcome students from different areas. How was that pushing on an open door? Was it just that they weren't seeing these students represented in applications and they wanted to be, or was there an uphill battle to show them that this was the right way to go?
It definitely wasn't pushing on an open door. That there was a kind of zeitgeist in the country that universities in particular weren't working for people from low opportunity areas. There'd been a lot of political discussion about universities being too posh, too exclusive. Companies were also starting to change their recruitment policies away from the kind of typical conveyor belt from Oxbridge into the city. So there was a kind of like fervent environment I was stepping into. But in terms of actually getting companies and universities on board, it's almost an impossible thing to do when you're starting a very, very early stage company, especially as a 21-year-old founder at the time who kind of looked perceptibly like not a typical startup founder. No, I didn't have the kind of years of experience. I'd never built a business before. I looked young as well. So for any company or university, seeing that just screams, risk, risk, risk. So I knew I couldn't get these people on board straight away. So my kind of strategy was, how do I essentially disintermediate the institutions? How do I go around them and find a way to build this fantastic B2C platform first to test my concept before I then have the kind of evidence and the kind of execution to then be able to go to these institutions and get them to partner. So nowadays we've got over 30 major companies who are commercially partnered with Zero Gravity. The big names that you see on the high street, your Lloyds Bank, HSBC, KPMG, McKinsey, Civil Service, all these massive names. But it took years to get to the point where these people wanted to meet me, because you got to prove that you can actually deliver on your promise and vision first. And that's what I focused on in the early days.
And you do have free time, like especially when you're young, like there is time. Like as you get older, free time seems to disappear. But it's making the use of that and going, well, actually this could become my thing. It's interesting. I was chatting to someone whose son was doing a lot of gaming, and through gaming has ended up making a career of it. But she was like, I used to always tell him off, but actually it led to something.
I was having a conversation with my dad over the weekend, and he said to his people that he works with that his biggest regret is trying to get me to go to uni, and trying to get me to not because I think uni's bad, by the way, because I think that it wasn't right for me. And a lot of people will say that's the default path, you should do it. So he said his biggest regret was trying to make me go to uni when I didn't want to go, but also trying to get me to to get away from the computer, basically, when I was at school. And the reality is that my social life took a hit when I decided that I wanted to make gaming videos and stuff like that, because instead of during summer at school, instead of going out and playing football with my mates like I did the previous year, I was sat on my Xbox the whole time, and then I was making videos and stuff like that. And realistically, you can't see the fruits of those labor, but the skills that I learned then were actually really valuable in hindsight.
Yeah. And I think it's harder in this space where a lot of these careers aren't known. If your parents or friends of your parents weren't working in this space and realizing that actually the skills you're gaining are going to create loads of opportunity for you, instead they just think, well, stop playing on your Xbox and get outside, get the fresh air. But it's like, well, actually, probably try and do a bit of both. A bit of fresh air is good, and getting out and meeting people. But wow, you were paving a way that
you couldn't have even imagined where it went probably at the time.
I can't give parenting advice because I'm not a parent, but I know that if you ask my dad, he would say, make sure that you let them do something that they enjoy. Because one, they're not going to resent having to do it, but also they're going to enjoy it. They're going to invest their time into it anyway.
Yeah.
And in today's world, there's so many ways to make money and have a career, and it's not all about the money anyway. So if you can earn a standard income doing something that you really love, if you're not bothered about the fact that you're not earning tens of millions and you're not on the cover of Forbes or whatever, then that's success, isn't it? Right?
Yeah. Your talk at Aspiration Digital was very well regarded by the students. There was a lot of feedback. I didn't actually get to see it. I've seen the slides, but I haven't seen the delivery. What do you think the students? What were they taking away from it? What was the essence of the talk?
I think it was that it's a really exciting time to be at the start of your career because of things like AI and technology being so democratized and so accessible. I mean, we have some of the most powerful AI systems ever developed on our phones for free. And that is such a wild concept in terms of how you can push your career forwards, because that's never been the case before. And things are moving so fast. And I mean, digital natives is a concept that came up back when millennials were the youngest generation. But we've got 2 more generations since then. And now you're AI natives. So there's such a huge opportunity to learn, develop your skills, push things in a way that maybe our generations have no idea about and aren't going to be able to come up with those ideas. So being at the start of that almost revolution is a really great place to be, and to almost take control of that and your careers and your destiny in terms of the world of work or passions or hobbies, it's yours to take.
That concludes another brilliant episode of Behind the Future. Thank you so much for listening. You can listen back to other episodes on YouTube or your podcast platform of choice. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, as that will help us to grow this podcast, ensuring we can get the best guests on here for you to learn from. You can also follow us on socials, linked in the show notes for exclusive content. See you on the next episode.